Alright, welcome back guys. In this video, you will learn the spot healing brush tool, the healing brush tool and the patch tool inside Photoshop. So let's get started. Alright, the reason why you might use a spot healing brush tool is so that you can be able to remove dark spots from an image. And I think this tool is totally great. So just like any other tool inside Photoshop, we can always go to the toolbar on the left and select the spot healing brush tool from here. Now on the options bar, we get all the settings relating to that particular tool we just selected. The first setting I want you to understand is the drawing mode or the painting mode. So if you click on the word normal, you see we have few blend modes than the one we have when working with layers inside Photoshop. Out of these blending modes, the one you will likely use will be the lighten blend mode and the darken blend mode. Although you might also find scenarios where the screen and multiply blend mode will work just fine. So let me explain how the lighten blend mode works. So let's select the lighten blend mode and let's start by creating a new layer above the background so that we work non-destructively. And since we'll be working on a brand new layer, we need to make sure sample all layers is checked, because if we do not have this check, and let's say we try to paint just here, you see nothing is happening because the layer we are currently painting on has no pixel, it has nothing. So make sure sample all layers is checked. Now if I zoom in on this image, we can be able to paint on this dark spot right here to get rid of it. Just like so. As you can see, it is possible because we have the lighten blend mode set. Let's press Ctrl Z to go back and let's switch the blending mode from lighten to darken. This time if I click here, you will see nothing happens, but if we look here on the layers panel, you can see a preview of what is going on. Because the darken blend mode by default takes away everything that is white and maintains everything that is black. So it is not very perfect in this particular case. Apart from working with the blending mode, we can also set the type to content aware, which comes by default. This means Photoshop is going to look at the neighboring pixels and try to feed them on the portion you are currently selecting with the spot healing brush tool. If you choose create texture for instance, and you click here, you see this weird effect going on. Photoshop will just try to create a texture. That's basically what it does. I hardly use this option, so I'm going to press Ctrl Z to undo. Now the next option here, proximity match, comes with a value called diffusion value. By default, the value is set to 5, but you can take it up to 7 or as low as 1. The diffusion value simply makes sure you have enough color adaptation. I'm going to explain this when we'll be looking at the patch tool. So for now, let us set it to content aware fill and change the blending mode to the normal blending mode. In this way, we will be in control of everything, and if we click here, we get rid of those dark spots just like so. Just wanted to show you that, so I'm going to get rid of this layer and create another one. Now below the spot healing brush tool, we have the healing brush tool. This tool has been around for so long. The one that is very new is the spot healing brush tool. So choose the healing brush tool this time. And again on the options bar, we have the settings relating to that particular tool. Again, we can also work with the different blending modes as I explained. And one very important setting here is the sample option here. So notice it is set to current layer. This means even if we were to click here, nothing is going to happen because the layer we are currently selecting has no pixels, it has nothing, just like when we work with the spot healing brush tool. So you can either click here and choose current layer and below, or all layers. I prefer to work with current layer and below. So the way the healing brush tool works is by you first holding the Alt key or the Option key if you're using the Mac. That is going to change your cursor into this target, and that means you can click beside the portion you want to remove to sample neighboring pixels. So let's click here to sample that portion and let go of the Alt key. By doing that, I can now move inside this portion and paint with the portion I sampled. While painting, you can also see a plus sign indicating the portion you sampled a moment ago. You can come to this portion, hold the Alt key, sample it, and also paint this portion to get rid of it just like so. Of course, the healing brush tool needs a lot of work, which is why I don't use it most of the time, but there are specific scenarios where I find it very useful because no one tool is perfect inside Photoshop. So I'm going to delete this layer one more time and add a brand new layer. Then I'm going to switch to the spot healing brush tool, and all the settings at the top look great. So I'm simply going to increase the size of my brush and then just paint on these areas to remove them. Now let us switch to this other image. And I'm going to switch from the spot healing brush tool to the patch tool. And just like any other tool inside Photoshop, we have the settings relating to the patch tool here on the options bar. The two settings you are going to use here most of the time will be the source and destination. So let's make sure it is set to source, and let's zoom somewhere in the image. Now with the source option, if my intention is to get rid of this shape, I can just create a lasso around it. And then when I move into the selection, we get this arrow beside the patch tool. Now I can just click to find a position that suits that particular location. Maybe this one. Now just say OK and press Ctrl D to deselect. As you can see, the patch tool replaced this portion with the new selection we chose. Again, I can come over here, create a lasso around this one, drag it to this portion, Ctrl D, and everything is gone. So the source option here helps you to remove. Now let's switch to destination and set the diffusion value to 7. The destination option is kind of opposite to the source option, because with it I can select this shape and then create a duplicate of it by moving it somewhere around here. Even when I have this selection active, I can't move it here to create another copy. Of course, we have a lot of repetition going on already, but you can always fix that. You notice that while I was placing all this shape, we set the diffusion value to 7. If you set the diffusion value down to 1, it simply means the color adaptation will not be very high. So if I were to select maybe this portion, and let's say I intend to move it to this other portion right here, you see because we set the diffusion value down to 1, the color inside this selection does not actually match with the surrounding. To remedy this, let's press Ctrl Z to undo and take the diffusion value up to 7, or the default, which is 5, anyone will do. Let's drag it back to this portion and let's release. As you can see, the color adapts to the surrounding to create this kind of effect right here. Now everything looks somehow realistic, but you can always take the time to use the brush tool, paint, do some modifications and make everything as realistic as possible. And one last thing before I wrap up is that you must not always create a selection with the patch tool. Okay guys, you can also select maybe the elliptical marquee tool. You create a selection just like so. The only thing is that you then have to switch to the patch tool, or just press the J key since it is active. Then you can move it to this portion and press Ctrl D, just like so. Now here's our image. So there is actually a lot you can do with the spot healing brush tool, the healing brush tool, and the patch tool. And always remember, for you to be good at using these tools inside Photoshop, you will need to get into the habit of combining all these type of tools, because like I said, there is no one perfect tool for any given job. Images are different, depths of fields are different, so combining different tools while working will always give you the best result possible. Thank you for watching the video, and I hope you found it very helpful. If you did, kindly like the video, subscribe to the channel and enable notification to not miss any future update. I am going to see you in the next one tomorrow. Take care and bye bye.